Let's begin. Let's begin.
All right. Hello and welcome to the fourth edition of the Nickospective podcast. I'm your host, Jordan. I'm very excited to be joined with a special guest of mine. You might know him through, I don't want to say our sister channel because I am no way affiliated with Patricia's Old School Lane. But if you know Patricia's Old School Lane, he is a good friend of hers and has appeared on many of her things. I would like to welcome Simeon Norbert D. Hello, and
Hello. But you could just call me Simeon, by the way, or Norbert.
I'm sorry. That's
It's all
good.
right. And today we're going to be discussing about the 2010s Nickelodeon sitcom that was heavily criticized when it was announced and when it premiered because a lot of people were claiming that it was a ripoff of a certain cartoon. Except, unlike the other kingdom, we're going to talk about the one that managed to last 2 seasons and just wrapped up its season 2 just a couple days ago. I am Frankie.
Yep, that I believe that stars Alex Hook as the main cast. Premiered on I don't know it's September 2017.
Yes,
Actually,
I believe it aired a sneak peek in August, though.
August. Oh yes, back in August of last year. And let me just find out. I think the main star of the cast is Alex Hook as Frankie, and then we have Nicole Nelson playing the best friend Dayton Reyes. That's all the cast I know. I'm going to look up the remainder of the cast.
Yes, I mean the cast includes Cole, Tammy, Lucia, Michaela, Sigourney, Will Gaines, Jenny Gaines, Dr. Peters, Kingston, aka Dane Nicole's father.
Mm.
Spoiler alert, and more.
Yes, and before we go any further, I think for those who have just tuned in, have no idea what the show's about, have not watched the show before, let's just give them a brief synopsis or rundown of what the show is about, the premise.
Yes. Basically, everyone claimed it was a ripoff of My Life as a Teenage Robot. Unfortunately, those people missed a really decent Nickelodeon sitcom because it's not. We'll get to that a little bit later. But I Am Frankie is a show about a teenage android girl named Frankie Gaines. She was built in in a place called Egg or Electronic Genetics, and she was built by a scientist named Sigourney Gaines, who is her quote unquote mother. She eventually snuggle in the first episode. She smuggles her out of Egg and takes her home because it turns out that Egg wants to give her to Warpa, which is an evil government agency an evil agency that wants to overthrow the government. And plant androids and everyone basically. That's explained more in season 2. And she's taken home. And her family, aside from Sigourney, her mother, includes her father, Will Gaines, and Jenny Gaines, who is the biological, the actual human
Yeah.
a daughter of Sigourney and Will. And the show is basically about her basically dealing with both going to high school because she's enrolled in Sepulveda High and also trying to hide from Warpa, basically. And other members include Dayton Reyes, her best friend, Cole Reyes, another friend of her, and also Dayton's brother, Tammy, the leader of the Brain Squad, Lucia and Michaela, who are also Brain Squad members, Andrew, another boy, a boy who was introduced later on, who later turns out to be an android himself. Teachers faculty members like Miss Huff, Mr.
Mhm.
Manhart, and of course Kingston, who is the leader of Egg, who is trying to get Frankie back to Warpa. And then later on, season 2, we're introduced to new characters
Simone,
we're introduced to new characters like
Simone,
what's her name, Cynthia, who later
yes,
turns out to be the head of Warpa. Spoiler alert. And then she's an
Simone,
android named Bot. What were you saying? What were you saying?
Simone. Don't forget some.
Yes, Simone, who is another android girl. Let's see, Rebecca, who is the really high tech gamer, who later turns out to help in the
Excuse me.
season 2
Uh,
finale. We'll get there in a minute. So yeah, that is basically the premise and cast of I Am Frankie.
mm,
Jordan, do you want to talk a little about your thoughts on season 1?
yes, but before I do, I want to correct you that a gamer girl season two. Her name is Rachel, not Rebecca.
Rachel, I knew it started with an R.
I just
Sorry.
wanted to correct. Okay, my thoughts preliminary on season one. At first, I thought it just started out a little bit slow. I had predicted that each episode uh, actually went a little bit fast, and it kind of found on the foundation, if you will, of Frankie becoming more human. The essential plot of each episode in season one just revolved around uh, two things, really. Frankie herself transitioning from android to her human, just learning all the very basic traits of what it's like to fit in with the human world. Disguise yourself as a human uh, in order to fit in with the rest of the world while also protecting yourself against egg and warp. I felt as though, and say this from time to time, that it was a little bit like a
Ola
super.
DJ. Ola DJ. He said Ola in the chat. Hi,
Um,
Ola DJ. Continue.
I'm not monitoring the chat right now, so I'm
I've
okay.
got to open another tab.
Yes, I see it now. Anyway, I had a feeling that this was like the secret world of Alex Mack in a way,
Yes, I
because
know. Go ahead.
because we have this extraordinary female character who has these superhuman, or in the case of I Am Frankie, more than uh, more than human powers.
Robotic powers, I guess.
Yeah,
The ability to like know anything because you have internet access.
yeah, but also things like super strength and reflexes. Anyway, the main character, the protagonist, is struggling to fit in with human life, and most importantly, because an evil organization is after her, so she has to keep her true identity a secret. Those were the parallels that I saw in relation to the secret world of Alex Mack.
Okay, so first up, I know you made the Alex Mack comparison a little bit. I haven't. I've only seen the last two episodes of Alex Mack. And from what I've seen of it, and based on the premise I know, I actually have to agree that the show has quite a similar premise. I mean, Alex Mack is about a girl who, after a chemical accident, gains superpowers, but she has to hide them because she's hiding from the government company and Danielle. So Alex Mack hiding from Danielle is almost parallel to
Mm.
Frankie hiding from Warpa and Kingston and Cynthia. So I thought that was I do think that was pretty interesting. And I wonder if maybe the writers of I Am Frankie were fans of Alex Mack or something like that. I doubt that.
Mm.
So so let me talk about my thoughts on season one. I do agree with you that season one does start off a little bit slow. I mean, the episodes aren't bad. Like season episodes 1 through 10. They're not bad episodes, but they're not even mediocre, but they're just kind of okay. But I think around the midpoint of season one, like I say, maybe episode 11 onward, I think the first episode that kind of had big drama step up was the episode where Kingston actually cracks Droid Sync and Frankie
Mm.
starts walking to Egg, but then
Oh yeah.
Sigourney and Dayton stop her. Um, I think up to that point is where the mood kind of changes. It becomes a lot more dramatic, and
Right.
especially at the end of season one, and especially in season two, the show kind of steps up the drama. I
Okay.
think, and I think the show actually becomes a lot better in quality around that point. So, the beginning of season one isn't bad, but I do agree it's a lot slower. It just kind of introduces us to the characters, the premise, and then and then the second half of season one starts to step up the quality more.
Right. I would have to agree with you. I don't remember exactly what happened in that episode that you were referring to. Actually, I do. Wasn't that where, yeah, Kingston had to found a way to remote control Frankie? Yes,
Yes,
and then
he cracked Droid Sync.
yes, and then he started. I'm sorry, he started remote controlling her. Frankie ended up snapping out of it and stopped before she got to Egg. I do
Yes,
remember.
thankfully, Sigourney and Dade stopped her. So what happened was a few episodes before that, Pegsy, who was a little flying egg thing, he discovers like in a storage room that there's like a bunch of prototypes of Frankie, like these robots that Sigourney built before Frankie, who were prototypes. And then after like playing with them for a little bit, they discover that they discover that Sigourney actually put something in the androids called Droid Sync that actually allows that allows for all the androids to come to one place right in the middle of Egg, and eventually they end up cracking that, and Frankie ends up following that and starts walking to Egg. thankfully, Sigourney and Dane stop her. She and Sigourney just types on her computer and tries to like hack it, and they eventually do, and Frankie is saved.
Yep, I remember. I remember the general premise of that.
And also another thing I really like I like about I Am Frankie is the fact that it keeps continuity very very well. Like
It
there's
does.
actually quite a few ongoing plots and story arcs and subplots that actually intertwine. Like there's a plot about Tammy and the Brain Squad. There's one about James Peters trying to build to he steals Sigourney's information to build his
Yeah.
own android, which turns out to be Andrew. There's Kingston trying to get trying to get Frankie back to Egg so she can give her to Warpa for Project Q, and all these kind of intertwined. Especially like I think in the season one finale, like the one where they win the Brain Squad championship, and all these plots intertwine very well, and a lot of continuity is really kept that well. Like I remember the episode I was referring to before where Kingston cracks droid sink and Frankie starts walking to Egg. Dayton actually says to Sigourney, "Did the East stomach have anything to do with that?" The East stomach, I think, was actually Sigourney installed that in Frankie the episode before, and that allows Frankie to actually eat because she's an android, she can't eat, but the East stomach allows her to actually eat food. And also in the season two opener, I am Eliza. Eliza says I can't eat, and Dayton thinking that Eliza is Frankie says you have the East stomach, and there's also other references like that as well. So they really thought they really keep continuity well. It's very clear they tracked a lot of stuff through it. It's almost like As Told by Ginger, where like little references from previous episodes are brought up again, and they really track it through really well.
Actually, you make up a lot of great points here. I didn't really think about the importance of plot continuity until you mentioned it. Now I remember, I think we've talked about this, or I've heard Patricia talk about this in other podcasts. There are some shows where you have an episode and then it's self-contained. Each episode is self-contained within each other, and there is no canon to the episodes that are related to any of it, and each plot line just stands on its own. That, in my opinion, that works for some, and it doesn't work for others. But I'd rather have a series where, yes, the plot does continue and is consistent throughout the entire series. Because if you have an episode that has nothing to do with any other episode your series is not non-canon, then why the heck did did the writers or producers make the episodes in such a way where they're not connected to each other?
I mean, there is a strength to having shows that are episodic. Like, some of my favorite shows are actually episodic. Like, I love the Angry Beavers. That's episodic. I really, I know, like, there's obviously examples like SpongeBob and the Fairly Odd Parents, where for the most part they're episodic. Like, things from one episode don't happen in the other. Like, each episode is like a fresh story from scratch, but like, it still takes place in the same world. I think there is benefit to having shows like that, but in the age of streaming and Netflix, where people can binge shows, and those shows are starting to become a lot more common now, where there's continuity, and I think I Am Frankie really plays into that well, and I think it takes a lot of I want to say full advantage, but a lot of good advantage in being a very continuity driven show, like all the subplots, all the little things that are tracked through. It really does it really does make the show better, like on second watch, like you watch through you watch the whole series through the first time, and like you can see his ongoing story, but then the second time you watch it, I actually didn't watch the series twice, by the way, but I'm just saying. But when you watch it the second time, you notice all the little continuity errors that you missed the first time watching it. It's kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where like you can tell there's an ongoing story, and maybe you'll get some of the references to previous episodes, but you won't see them all until you watch the series at least a second time. And I think that's where the writing of I Am Frankie really shines. I don't want to. I'm not gonna call it like a masterpiece or anything. Like I mean, it's definitely nowhere near as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I do think it keeps continuity very well, and the fact that they like thought through stuff like the East stomach or
Yes,
stuff like the droid sink or all the other little things that are referenced later. I think that really works to the show's advantage.
I would agree with that. I'm on IMDb. I was just going to look up the writers' names so I could give a shout out to them.
I know
Mm,
the show is an adaptation of the Latin American Yo Soy Frankie,
it
and I
is.
know I know that the person who adapted the show or I forget her name, but I know she also adapted Every Which Way and Talia in the Kitchen, which are also shows that were adapted from Latin American shows.
Oh, that I did not know.
Yes,
Yes.
I am Frankie. I put in the category of single camera sitcoms that were based on a show from another country, along with Every Which Way, Talia in the Kitchen, House of Anubis, Hunter Street, where they're all original Nick sitcoms, but they were based off shows from other countries. Like Hunter Street, it was based off a Dutch show called De Ludwigs. House of Anubis was based off a Belgian show, and Every Which Way, Talia in the Kitchen, I Am Frankie are all based off Latin American shows.
Right. Uh, I I remember some of the credits in the opening. We had, for example, Charlotte Owen was one of the writers, along with these other. But I have the names of the executive producers here: uh, Eric Gaunard and Tatiana Rodriguez. And I'm sorry if I butcher your names. The producer was Danny Mendoza, and I don't have the full list of the actual writers, but
Um, did any of the executive producers or writers for I Am Frankie also work on Every Which Way or Tilly in the Kitchen, since they were also adapted from Latin American shows too by the same person?
that I don't have any information of. Right.
Yeah, and by the way, I suppose I should mention that of the shows that Nick has adapted from adapted from other countries, the only one that I've fully seen intensely is I Am Frankie. I've seen a couple of Hunter Street, never seen any of Every Which Way, Tilly in the Kitchen, or House of Anubis. Just throwing myself out there and just saying that, just so you all know my context.
Oh, actually, Tatiana Rodriguez was one of the executive producers on Every Which Way. I just pulled that
Oh,
information up.
that's interesting.
Um,
So do you want to move on to the characters or the plots?
sure, yes, we can do that.
All right. So Frankie is a titular character. I am Frankie. So at the beginning of the series, she basically talks like a robot. Thankfully, she doesn't talk like this all the time because that would be annoying. But she talks like a normal human. But although she does say stuff like they know high population, blah 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 blah. She's basically a computer, and oncogenic urticaria. It's a very rare disease. Blah blah blah. You can definitely tell that she has she definitely looks stuff online pretty easily, but and she also pronounces like people's both first names and last names.
Yeah,
Like she never says Dayton. She says Dayton Reyes or Cole Reyes or Andrew Lapierre. However, as the series goes on, she actually starts to develop and she starts to become more like a human. Like
yeah,
she actually starts developing human emotions. Like she says, Dayton, I'm feeling a very uncomfortable feeling. I think my processor might be broken or something. And then Dayton says, that's called worry. So she actually develops like human emotions as the series goes on. She starts acting a little more like a human, even though she can still connect online and stuff. And
yes,
even season two that continues. I don't remember. Skipping ahead to season two, I remember the episode where Cole is going to Nets. Spoiler alert, that's Warpa actually,
mm,
and then after he leaves, Frankie actually cries, which we had never seen her cry before, and we never knew that she even could cry. But I guess she developed the ability to cry from I guess adapting to being a human. And then also in the season two finale, she grows a heart
yeah,
after she kisses Cole. So like my theory is that after the end of I Am Frankie, Frankie becomes completely human years later. But she actually, even though she kind of starts out just as a typical, she starts out just like talking like a computer, she does develop and actually grows human emotions and actually starts to act more human-like, if that makes sense.
yep, I would agree. Frankie at the beginning, and we kind of see this in other characters, actually. Uh,
Do you want to talk about Dayton or Cole?
sure, we'll go to Dayton and Cole Reyes. One of the things I want to say is I'll describe both the characters first. Dayton is the BFF of Frankie. She is a human. And I think during the first few episodes, when she discovers that Frankie is an android, she doesn't freak out and say, you're not one of us. She actually accepts Frankie for who she is and offers to keep it a secret.
That's
That's
more than I
just,
can say for Tammy.
I know, who is completely the opposite. She,
Hang on. I have a friend here. This is Mark. He's a student with living with us. Say hi,
Hey,
Mark.
how's it going, Jordan?
Good. How about you? Are you enjoying our discussion thus far?
He said, are you enjoying the discussion thus far?
I haven't been listening, but I've heard Simeon's side, and yeah, it's pretty good.
Did you watch the show?
He wanted to know if he did you watch I Am Frankie, Mark?
I watched a couple episodes.
He said he watched a couple episodes.
Couple of episodes.
He says he liked it.
All right. Well, that's good for you. It was a very action-packed show, and I'm
Yeah.
glad it's on the air. Anyway, going. Sorry.
Well, hang on. I'm doing a discussion right now. Ask later. All right. So what were you saying about Dayton and Cole?
Well, the fact that their two brothers, the fact that Dayton allows Frankie to date her brother, I think that's very cool. And then, but both of them are very supportive. They're not. They're supportive of Frankie and her family. They're not off going, "Oh, she's the enemy," just because she's an android. She's an enemy. No, uh, both of them accept her for who she is, and happens to be. They also show, especially Dayton, is the main person who I would say is the guide to Frankie becoming human. Dayton is the one who really teaches Frankie almost everything about what it actually means to be human.
Yes, I agree with that. I think Dayton's biggest role in the show is showing Frankie what it means to be human, and I think she's partly the reason why Frankie starts developing more human characteristics as the show goes on. I would say I don't think that Cole helped as much. Although I won't say that Cole's a useless character. I do think he does have some important roles in the show. Like at the last episode of season one, he and Frankie end up taking a bus to escape from Warp, and then they end up at a coffee shop or whatever it is, and then they have to get back home at the beginning of season one. Season two. Even though Cole doesn't help with Frankie as much, I think that he also does serve to kind of help Frankie when he needs to.
Exactly. I mean, I
Oh, and
didn't.
also, oh,
Go ahead.
oh, well, oh, what was I gonna say again? I forgot. I really should edit this so you could edit out the parts where I said I forgot. But
When you're live, it's much more interactive, or at least that's what I'm trying to go for. But
yeah, that's definitely the case. And I actually you go first, and I'll see if it comes back to me. Oh, actually, I think I remember. Yeah. So after Cole leaves for Nets in season two, which spoiler alert is Warpa, Frankie actually, like I said, she cried. She actually feels genuine sadness for Cole going. So I think Frankie starting to develop a crush on Cole actually does I think that actually does help her character grow a little more, developing more human emotions and developing human characteristics. And also, I wouldn't say that they're dating because I remember at the beginning of in I Am Eliza in season two, at the beginning of season two, when they're hiding in the movie theater, Frankie says, "Cole, I've researched and I found out that when two humans go to the two people go to the movies together, it's typical a date." And Cole's like, "No, this isn't a date; it's hiding out." But also but I do believe that Frankie and Cole do end up together because, like I said,
yes,
they kiss in the last episode of season two.
yes, and then Frankie grows a heart. One of the other things I was going to mention about, oh yes, the fact that Mr. Kingston, who started out as an enemy, and then we find out
In the plot twist, he's actually dating Nicole's father, and his real name is Tom Reyes.
I did not know about the Tom part.
Yeah, I remember in the episode where that's revealed. Like after I think someone at Egg calls his phone. Dayton picks it up and says, "Can you tell Kingston this is Tom Reyes' phone?" And then she calls Frankie and says, "What's it got? What's the head of Egg's name?" And then she says, Then Frankie says Kingston, and then she realized that her father is actually the head of Egg and is working for Warpa.
Yes, and then we see that transition, or I want to say, the development of the character as we go from seasons 1 to 2, because at the beginning of season 1, Kingston is the enemy, works on the bad side, but then as we get into season 2, he becomes more compassionate and supportive of what his children were doing, and in the end decides to help and take down Warpa. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, in season one, Kingston, Kingston was the biggest he was a focal antagonist. But then season two, he actually starts acting a little more kind of jokey and fatherly for the Dane and Cole, and then he ends up getting captured by Warpa, and he's in a cell in the Rhombus, and then Cole joins there too, and then he decides to join the good side. So it's kind of like how Zuko switched sides in Avatar season 3. Similarly, Kingston switches sides and becomes a good guy in season 2.
yes, and then at that point in time, we have new antagonists introduced into the show.
Yes, and also another thing, and this is kind of segueing into that. I like how the show actually does have a few genuinely good twists, but they always hide the twist. Usually this character turns out to be this character, but they never show us. But they never foreshadow it. But then they hit it with us right away, like a complete surprise. We never saw Dane and Cole's father up until the episode where it's revealed that it's actually Kingston. So that was a genuine shock for me. And also in the subplot where James Peters builds his android, even though we saw him talking to his android. On the phone call just as Android, and his voice was disguised and his face was hidden, so we didn't know that his android was actually Andrew until the emoji dance party happens and he pushes Frankie out of the way and gets wet himself, and turns out that he's actually an android and he was actually James Peters' android, and then the same thing happens in season 2 where it's revealed that the head of Warpa is actually Cynthia, who's actually even though we did see like the white mask in season 2 talking on the computer, we didn't know who the white mask was, and then it turns out it's actually Cynthia.
Yep, exactly. The one plot twist that I did call, or that I was aware of before it was revealed, was the Nets thing. When that recruiter from Nets showed up to give Cole the offer to attend the academy, I had a strong feeling in my heart and stomach that was going to be a Warpa trap.
Oh, I didn't catch that one. I was genuinely surprised by that one. When you told me on Twitter that there would be a big twist, I thought that was a twist because honestly, I was kind of paranoid that anyone in the show was going to be working for Warpa. I figured it would either be like Cynthia or like Miss Huff or another like tertiary character, but I didn't expect the next things to happen. I was also wondering if maybe there was going to be a plot twist that Dayton is actually an android or Cole's actually an android and they just didn't know or something like that, or they were hiding it or something. But no, they really are human.
Yep, and one of the things I was going to let's dive into a little bit about Cynthia's background, because I don't think we covered that in detail.
Should we talk about like Tammy or James Peters or Mr. Kingston first before we get into Cynthia?
Sure, yes, because they came first.
Okay. All right. So Tammy is the leader of the Brain Squad at Sepulveda High. She's the smartest girl in school, and on the first day, she immediately becomes rivals with Frankie because she realizes that that she can answer questions faster than she does. And she wonders why. I'm not the smartest girl in school anymore. This girl is. So and she becomes suspicious. So and then we got a subplot with her where she tries to figure out what's wrong with her. First, she thinks that Frankie is actually having someone feed the answers to her through an earpiece, and then she suspects her of being an alien. And then she eventually deduces that she's actually an android. And then she tries to prove to everyone she's an android at the emoji dance party where she tries to drop the bucket of water on her, but then it goes on Andrew instead. And then season 2, or actually at the end of season 1, she hacks into the Warpa website, and then some Warpa agents end up taking her to the Rhombus off screen, and then and they put the little chip in her head. Then season 2, the people at Warpa can actually control her and make her talk like teen slang, "Hey dogs, isn't this lit?" And then everyone around her is like, "Why is she talking like that?" And then, of course, there's her friends Lucy and Michaela, who are also on the Brain Squad, and they basically kind of serve as I guess her sidekicks.
Yes, and the one thing about the Warpa chip, she has no recollection of the Warpa guys actually controlling her. So everything that she does under Warpa's control, she has no memory of.
Yes, I remember the one episode. Now I think only about 2/3 of the episode were on Daily Motion, so I'm not sure if Tammy said something about this later in the episode. But the part I did see, I remember Lucy and Michaela actually filmed Tammy talking like that when Warpa was controlling her, and like talking that lit teen slang, yo. And then they show her the video after, and she's like, "What? I don't talk like that. Was that like effects or something?" And then so yeah, she doesn't remember anything what that happens when she's under like a Warpa's control. Like and then once Warpa doesn't stops having control of her, then she snaps back to the way she is.
Yep, there was an episode. I don't know if you've seen it. Dayton and Frankie attempt to remove the chip, and they actually do.
Yes, I remember that. It's the one where they try to wrap Tammy up in the toilet paper, and then they remove it.
Yes, and I think that's better that way. I don't. First of all, I want to ask why Warpa had any interest in controlling her for the first place.
I think it was because they wanted to spy on Frankie.
Yes.
And because they knew that Tammy was associated with Frankie, I think, and also because she was on the Warpa website, she acted the Warpa website. I guess they were suspicious of her, and they want to do that just to control her to make sure something like this wouldn't happen again. And being adults and trying to be trying to be hip with the kids, but like trying to like the adults of Warp are basically, how do you do, fellow kids? Like they try to talk like teen slang, but they fail miserably. And then when she starts talking like, "That's tight, dog. This is lit," and everyone around her is like, "Why is she talking like that?" Because teenagers don't actually talk that way.
Yes, I would
So,
agree. With you.
I think the reason why Warpa put that chip in Tammy was basically to spy on Frankie, or basically to make sure she wouldn't like she wouldn't like reveal anything about Warpa or something. I don't know if they wiped her memory once they got to the rhombus, and then put her back at Sepulveda High or something.
Well, we don't know. That part was never actually shown, so we can only speculate. I don't.
Yes. All right. Do you want to talk about James Peters next?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Oh, I was asking you if you want to talk about James.
All right,
Peters.
I will describe him. Yes, he was actually friends and colleagues with Sigourney Gaines, and then he actually created an android. The most I don't want to say it's genius part, but we learned that he actually stole Sigourney's code for Frankie to create.
When he went to the facilities.
What about the facilities?
I said when he went to the facilities, because he was at dinner and he said, "I need to use the facilities," and that was like a word for bathroom. But then it turns out he was actually going to Frankie's room and was stealing the information off Sigourney's laptop.
Yes, and use that to create his own android, which we don't.
And like I said before, the android's face is actually, the android's name and face are the android's face and is hidden and his voice is disguised, and we don't know it's Andrew until the emoji dance party comes and he saves Frankie.
Yes, that was quite a reveal. I think it's when I remember this scene when Tammy poured the bucket of water on. I think it was Frankie, but then Andrew pushes her out of the way, and that's when Frankie reveals or sees the circuitry parts of Andrew after he gets wet. Because I think what happened was Andrew went in to attempt to save Frankie, and then his parts got wet, and that exposed his electronics and circuitry.
Yes. Speaking of Andrew, even though he kind of starts off as kind of a careless, apathetic character, but it turns out that he actually does care about Frankie. Like you said, he actually saved Frankie at the dance party, and then at the end at the very last episode of season 1, he ends up going against his programming and rescuing her, taking her out of the Brain Squad building, even though he was supposed to take her. To James Peters in Kingston, but then he ends up short circuiting because he was going against the programming, and then the Warpa agents see Andrew on the ground, and since they need an android, and since they couldn't get Frankie, they decided to take Andrew, and then he's taken to the rhombus, and he's imprisoned until Frankie, Dane, and Nicole come rescue him, and that was the episode from the clip I shared on Twitter.
Yep, I remember that, which leads me into my next point, which is Andrew is willing to sacrifice himself for the Warper Project. And actually, if we can get into a little bit, the main objective of Warpa is to turn androids for evil in order to eventually have them take over the world.
Oh, yeah. And then eventually after anyway, they also end up in season 2. They also capture they also rescue another android named Simone, and she ends up coming back with Dr. Peters as well. And then anyway, after they're rescued, then Dr. Peters notices that Andrew can play the guitar and sing. And then later he ends up downloading something into Simone, allowing her to sing as well. And then they sing a song together. James Peters tries to exploit that for money. Like James Peters, he's a very selfish, a very selfish money grubbing character. It's clear that he's also a con artist, considering that he stole Sigourney's information to build Andrew. He's probably the least likable character in the show, considering that he's selfish, he's money grubbing, he's a con man.
Yep, all he cares about throughout the series, or at least as we start, all he cares about is getting what's called the Nobel Prize.
Haha, Nobel Prize, nice pun.
Yes, I noticed that. That was a little bit of a funny comic relief, and there are lots of these comic relief elements that kind of balance out the drama.
Yeah,
you don't want a show with all drama all the time,
yeah.
even though that could make things very exciting. I like shows that balance the drama out with a few comedic and funny bits as well.
Yeah, I think that's what made Avatar such a great show. Like, even though Avatar was like a big story-driven show, and it did definitely have some very dark moments, it actually did have like funny like lines from Sokka, or like other kind of funny like off remarks that kind of balanced out like the silly and the serious. And I don't think I Am Frankie does it quite as well as Avatar, but I think there still are some funny marks, like funny remarks regardless, like the Nobel Prize and nothing else comes to the top of my head, but it's not just all like drama. There is some dashes of comedy in there as well.
Yes, one of the comedic bits that I was thinking of, the first day when Frankie goes to school and the teacher says, tell them a little bit about yourself. Then Frankie literally says, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, and also, yeah, she takes everything literally. Like, we have a comedian on your hands, and then she looks at her hands. We do.
Wow.
Like, she doesn't understand metaphors.
Yes, but that could be understand given an android who does, I would imagine, doesn't really have the complex human powers of thought to think outside the box or to.
Yeah, and to be fair, like we said before, season 1 does start off a little bit slow. So there really isn't any drama in season 1. It's not until like the midpoint of season 1 that the drama starts picking up, and then season 2 is really when it goes full force with the drama.
Yeah. There were a couple of episodes that, I mean, once we got towards the final episode, those final episodes.
Final episode, season 1 or season 2?
2. They pulled at my heartstrings, but we can get into about that.
Oh yes, yes, I think that's basically all the characters. Should we go into season 2 now?
Sure. Yes, that's
all right. And so season 2. Actually, I want to talk about Eliza. So, and this is another thing that kind of kept continuity well. Eliza was actually mentioned a few times before she showed up at the end of season 1. Yes. After Sigourney built her in the first episode, she's we don't talk about Eliza. And then I remember one episode, James Peters says to her, he says, you don't want another Eliza. And then also in the episode where they try to give Frankie from Droid Sync, like she's going to egg because of Droid Sync. Frankie says, I install this on Frankie unless something like this ever happen again. And then Jane says, what do you mean again? And that's a reference to Eliza. And then finally Eliza appears in the final episode of season 1. Like she appears in a taxi and she looks exactly like Frankie. She's also played by Alex Hook. And then she appears in the 2-part opening of season 2. Yes. And she's basically an android who was built before Frankie, who actually is able to lie, and that's her, and that's basically what causes her to be able to commit crimes. We don't know a whole lot about Eliza. We don't see her after the season 1 opening. That's a loose end that's never tied up. And then basically there's also the scene where Frankie has to fight against Eliza, which, I mean, that must have taken a lot of editing since Alex Hook had to be in 2 places at once. They had to film the bits like with her as Frankie and the bits with her as Eliza. Frankie ends up winning, and they lower her strength, and they go to have pizza. But then when they come back, she escaped, and we don't ever see her again after that, which I think was kind of a bummer because I think we should have had maybe some follow up on what happened to Eliza. Like I don't know, I doubt she just became good after that. But I really wish we had some follow up to what happened to Eliza.
I know. It was sad that we didn't really see her in any other episodes. But one more thing, did you notice that all the Android prototypes that came before Frankie, I guess they went in alphabetical order. And I was just curious. I thought we would find out what the names of the previous.
Yes, I noticed that. I remember Frankie one time did say, my name is Frankie because it's the A B C D E F. It's the sixth letter of the alphabet, and I had five predecessors. So I assume E is for Eliza, and then F is for Frankie. So I mean, there were three Android prototypes. So I guess that they're like B, C, and D. I'm not sure what the A one was, or maybe they're A, B, and C, and we don't know what the D one was. But I don't know. I was kind of hoping for a plot twist that Dayton was the D android because she's actually an android all along and she was hiding it or something. But yeah, that wasn't the case.
Nope. Yeah. So anyway, that was an hour-long episode. The season 2 opener. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, honestly, that was probably my favorite episode up to the point where it aired. This is before the rest of season 2 aired, so that was my favorite episode of I Am Frankie. When it aired. So of course, some later season 2 episodes ended up beating it, but yeah, that was a pretty good episode, and it's probably among the top 10 best episodes of the show.
Right. And it also focused a lot more on the road, unlike other episodes where most of it was focused at Sepulveda High. This whole hour-long special kind of took us on the road and really told a quite an adventure story on how
On how Dayton Cole got back to Sepulveda.
Frankie and Cole, yes.
And and also since this is a single camera sitcom, it's not shot on the set like Henry Danger or Game Shakers is. They're actually able to film outside. So they're actually able to have like shots that take place in unique locations that are just one-offs. Because the show clearly has a higher budget for that. It's kind of like Zoe 101. That show was a single camera sitcom and it was shot outside. And there were like locations in Zoe 101 that only appeared in one episode. I Am Freaky is kind of similar to that.
Yep, I would notice that. The only thing I do not like, and you may disagree with this, I mean, not having the laugh track, but I would understand this show was not designed, or the atmosphere really did not warrant a laugh track, but there were certain points where I wanted to laugh, and I didn't really know when were the appropriate moments to laugh, and that's
Really?
when
So you like the laugh track?
for some shows like all the Dan Schneider sitcoms.
Really?
tell me-
That is quite an unpopular opinion because most people hate laugh tracks, especially like when they're over. A lot of people think that Dan Schneider overuses the laugh tracks in his shows.
Oh, and I've heard about that, but me personally, there are certain parts where I do know when to laugh, and there are other parts when I don't know when to laugh.
I mean, in the scene where Frankie says a little bit about yourself in the first episode, the class laughs at that. So I mean, I think that's an obvious point where you should laugh.
Right.
Now personally, I don't mind laugh tracks. Not when there's like, I mean, Henry Danger and Game Shakers do kind of overuse them, but honestly, once I hear them enough times, like once they're super, when I hear them in a sitcom, honestly, once I hear them enough, they basically become white noise. I don't even hear them anymore. Although I can understand why some people would find them annoying, but I personally don't that much.
Right. The only thing I'm gonna say about audience or laugh tracks, if you will, I miss the days when we actually had live studio audience instead of artificial, or instead of making the sounds artificial, which I think happens more in modern shows today. There's not much of a genuine interaction, whereas shows that were filmed or taped in front of a live audience, and we hear the audience's genuine reaction to
This was taped in front of a live audience at Nickelodeon Studios in Universal Studios and Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, I miss that place.
Yeah, that place has been gone since 2005.
I know.
Probably my biggest issue with I Am Frankie is the fact that, with the exception of the season two final episode of season two, every single episode leaves on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Yes, honestly, that's probably my biggest issue with the show, and I don't mind cliffhangers, but it uses them for every single episode. Even the season one finale ends on a cliffhanger. It's like, can you just wrap up one episode? I mean, I do get why cliffhanger exists. It's supposed to keep the audience excited for the next episode, wondering what's gonna happen next. But like, this show uses them for every single episode outside the season two finale, and it really does kind of get grating. It's like oh, it's gonna leave on a cliffhanger. Like, actually wrap up the episode. Like that would be nice. I don't know if Every Which Way or Chili in the Kitchen did that, but that's probably my biggest issue with I Am Frankie. And even then, that doesn't take away. That doesn't. I don't think that makes the show awful. Just one thing I don't like about it, and an otherwise decent show.
I would have to disagree with you on one front. I actually like the cliffhangers. Well, especially for this. I'm sorry, except for the season one finale, I did not like how they just ended it. But for the rest, I mean, that's what got me excited to watch the show. It made me want some more. I was hoping that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just coughing.
I was hoping that by the end of season two, they would at least wrap some closure. They would tie up all the loose ends in the plot. But
And they don't tie up all the loose. They don't tie up the whole show until the end of season two.
well, they don't. I could imagine the part about Simone leaving the theater and then getting this cryptic message from some
Oh yeah.
unnamed agent, which we.
Oh yeah. Like, I don't know why they included that part. I don't know if like that was like open ended, if they were gonna have a season three. But aside from that, everything else was pretty much wrapped up after the season two finale.
Yeah.
Like Warp was closed down. Cynthia and the other Warp agents are arrested. And of course everyone is returned home safe. And then of course the school play happens, and Frankie and Cole kiss. So aside from that one message and Eliza never being seen again, I think the season two finale did basically wrap everything up really well. Of course, I think the cryptic message was put in there just in case they wanted to keep things open ended if there were to be a season three. But given how the show's ratings haven't been that good in season two, I don't see a season three happening. But I'd like to be proven wrong.
Yes, which I was gonna go into my next question. If you let me rephrase this. If Nickelodeon, let's say hypothetically, Nickelodeon cancels I Am Frankie today, how would you feel? Would you be satisfied with that, or would you want more?
Honestly, I'd be more satisfied than if it was canceled season one, because like season one left on a cliffhanger. It was just Eliza comes home, she walks up the stairs, she has an evil smile on her face, and the episode ends. Like that's not an ending. So if I Am Frankie were canceled after season one, I would be angry. I would be upset at that. However, once again, season two wrapped up basically everything outside of that one message and Eliza not being seen again. Wrapped up, like, Warp being shut down, Cynthia and the Warp agents being Warp on and the Warp agents being arrested. The play goes on. Frankie and Cole kiss. Everyone's rescued. Everyone's happy. So I think season two actually did wrap the show decently. So if season two were to be the last season, I would honestly be okay with that. In fact, I would rather have a satisfying season two closure than a season three that it leaves on a cliffhanger like season one did. So I would only want a season three if it were also to actually end and not leave on a cliffhanger. But I don't think we need one. I think season two. I think season two. I think season two left on a good note. I think that the writers might have had in mind that they were gonna end write that episode as if it was the last, and they only and they only put the little cryptic message that Simone gets just to keep things open and just to make sure if a season three were to happen, kind of like how Alex Mack leaves on. We don't know if Alex Mack took the pill or not to take away her powers. Like they let on that cliffhanger just to keep things open ended if there were another season. But in the case of Alex Mack, there wasn't one. So I think the cryptic message that Simone got was similar, just to keep things open ended if there were a season three.
Right, I would actually have to agree with everything that you said here. especially with the part that the writers and the producers had in mind the possibility that season two would be its last, and they have to be prepared that that Nickelodeon may not renew the show. I would also agree with the fact that if they canceled the show after season one ended, I did not want that to happen either, because then we wouldn't get any closure that the cliffhanger left when Eliza showed up at the game store. So
Oh yeah.
I was glad that they renewed it for season two. If the network had if the network cancels the show after season two, I'd be fine with it. Also,
Yeah.
I think they, I think we got more in season two than we did get in the first. And
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. Season two gets a lot more dramatic, and I don't think we discussed season two as a whole yet. Should we get into that?
sure, yes,
So season two basically leaves off where season one left off, where Eliza comes to the Gaines house, and Frankie and Cole are still like way away from I don't think the town they live in is actually named the town where the town where the show takes place. So they're far
Rancho
away.
de la,
What'd you say?
it's Rancho de la or it's something like that. I don't know.
Rancho blah blah blah. So far away from Rancho blah blah, and they have to get home. And then of course this thing with Eliza, which I already talked about. And there's actually a few new characters in season two. Like there's Simone, there's Rachel, there's Cynthia, who turns out to be the head of Warpa. There's her android whose name is Beto. Yeah, there's a few new characters introduced. Do you want to talk about maybe Simone or Cynthia or Rachel?
Sure, but then we also have this other black student who replaced
Zane.
the other
Zane.
Zane, and he's interested in the theater. He works with Dayton to help put on a play.
And he's kind of a tertiary character. Well, we don't know a whole lot about him. All we know is that he's interested in the play. He likes theater. He's kind of one dimensional, but he's a background character. So I guess it makes sense. He doesn't have much personality because he doesn't get much focus.
Right, but going back to those other two characters you mentioned, Simone is the android who shares the cell with Andrew, and she and Andrew come up with a plan to escape from Warpa. The first time they are unsuccessful, but then with the help of Frankie, Dayton, and Dr. Peters, they end up escaping. I just feel as though the chemistry between Simone and Andrew was superb and tough. They're really great together.
Yeah,
And
especially when they sing that song. Which, by the way, can I download song on iTunes because I really love that song they sing.
I don't really know if you can download any of these songs on
You
iTunes.
can, well, you can't. But I just said that because I would like to. I would like for them to make an I Am Frankie soundtrack and like put the song they sing. Things are it feels like things are getting real. I don't know. Maybe some of the background music. Just so I can download that one song. But
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen.
no, unfortunately. And then we had, yes, Rachel the gamer, who Dayton and Frankie use to hack into the Warpa uh, system to discover their
And
master
yes,
plan.
she helps, and then they end discovering from the master plan that Dane got electrocuted the first time she tried to open it, but Rachel ends up cracking into it, and they end up discovering that Cynthia is actually the head of Warp, but we'll get to her later. And then Rachel also plays a big role in the last episode of season two, where she ends up controlling Beto to try and make sure that try and make sure that Warpa doesn't have control of the space station anymore, so Sigourney is safe. And that's the other thing we forgot to mention. Like also the plot of Sigourney going up into space, and then she starts communicating through the Gaines family through video chat, and then turns out that Warpa ends up hacking the space station and ends up getting control of it. But going back to Rachel, she controls Beto. She controls Beto, and she basically frees everyone, and everyone gets out safe thanks to Beto. Beto was Cynthia's android who we built, but Rachel ends up. But Jenny actually creates a program on her iPad, I think, that ends up hacking into ends up hacking into Beto, and she can control him, but then she can't quite work it right. So then Rachel, who's like a superb gamer, takes control and uses it to save everyone.
Yes, and we don't find out until the last few episodes of season 2. Rachel realizes this is not a game. Warp is real. She can't believe why Dayton has been lying to her. She actually references this in one of the final episodes. Dayton didn't come clean. Dayton didn't come clean. Why is that? And that
I
was
also I remember Rachel also said, when I searched Warpa, I got nothing. But when I searched the deep web, my browser lit up like a Christmas tree. It's like you went onto the deep web. I heard some really bad stories about the dark web. But yeah, I think Rachel's probably like I think my second favorite character. My second favorite character next to Frankie. I really love how like good she is at gaming. I love how smart she is. And I love how she really does kind of be the one to control Beto and basically free everyone at the end of season 2.
Yep. And then we also find out that Dr. Peters, they couldn't do it without his help. Even though he may, to the most of the cast, he may be a bad guy. It turns out that everybody, including him, has to pitch in and help, and that's
Yes, I really like how they really redeemed James Peters' character because I mean in season 1 and throughout season 2 he was basically a con artist who's selfish and money grubbing and he only wants to he steals Sigourney's information to build Andrew and then basically exploits him for money. But then at the end of season 2 his character is basically redeemed because he basically helps to save the day. So he basically he kind of he turns from like a really selfish guy to a guy who helps save everyone.
Yep, exactly. The main moral of this story is that no matter how one how one perceives each person, in the end, we all depend on each other. And even though one person who you think may be your worst enemy uh, comes through, but then they come through and they end up working for the good side.
Yeah, that I didn't actually see that moral, but I think that's really great that they really redeemed his character like that by having him help basically and to save everyone.
The other big lesson that I took away was Warpa. I think I'll talk more about that after we introduce and describe Cynthia's character because I think that'll generally tie into the lesson that I'm talking about here. Cynthia Mondal is actually introduced after Jenny or before Sigourney goes into space. She actually, I think she and Sigourney were college roommates at one time, fellow scientists, and Sigourney hired her to check on Frankie's technical needs while Sigourney went up in space. So she ended up for most of the season, up until the last few episodes, she was Frankie's caretaker who played the nice woman. But then that twist happened where Dayton and Frankie hack into the Warpa system, discover the master plan, and then realize, Cynthia Mondal is working against them. She's working for Warpa. Then the two, Frankie and Dayton, confront her on it when they have the meeting, and that's where the big plot twist happens.
Yes, and then Warpa starts hacks into the space station. So and then she tells Frankie, surrender yourself to us, or we'll launch the space station into deep space. It should have been the sun, by the way. It should have been help us, or we'll launch the space station into the sun. I think that would have been a little more dramatic.
Yes, it would, because if you go into the sun, then you burn up. But
Yeah.
I think
But Joel, I mean, you'll still live in deep space until you run out of food. So it should have been we'll plunge you toward the sun. I think that would have been I think that would have made the tension a little bit higher.
right. But when I heard the words deep space, I thought they would never be able to. Well, in the long run, you won't be able to survive.
Well, I
because
mean, they have food in the space station, and they probably have water. But when they run out, then they're gonna die.
yes, that's my point. Either way, you don't live. You, in the long run, you don't make your way out of any of those two situations alive. In the long run, if you think about it,
Yeah, but in the case of the sun, they would have died a lot quicker. They would have died before they ran out of food.
right? You do make a point there. That would have been more dramatic, yes. But
All right, continue.
one of the things that happens along the way is Cole is actually no first they get Kingston and then they get Cole.
Right.
And actually, the way that Kingston is captured, you see, he is out of a job, and some mysterious tech company calls Kingston for a job offer. We later discover that was just a ploy for Warpa to capture him. And then what happens is, in season two, Cole is really good at tennis, and we see this quote unquote tennis instructor who gives Cole an offer to attend this tennis academy where tuition is free.
Oh man.
And
Honestly, now that you say it like that, that sounds a little suspicious. Like the tuition is free. Like if the tuition is free, that means that it's gonna be a scam.
yeah, they're going to offer everything that you would possibly need. Uh,
I'm surprised that Cole didn't actually catch that. I'm surprised that he wasn't like skeptical or something. And also, I'm a little surprised that his love of tennis wasn't like brought up like in season one. Like it's only brought up in season two. It would have been nice maybe if in season one if there maybe had been like a one-off scene where Cole was playing tennis with somebody. But we don't learn about his love of tennis until season two. So I would have liked that.
and we also don't, well, with the exception of Dayton, we don't really discover any of the other characters' hidden talents or hobbies, except for Dayton when we discover that she's into the theater. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. So I anything else?
yes, it's going to get, I was going to get into the facts. So they capture, they end up capturing Cole and his father through deceitful methods. And the reason why they're after Cole is because to get to Frankie. It's interesting. At the beginning of season one, Warpa's main target is Frankie because she's an android and they could use her for evil forces. But then at the season one finale, they capture Andrew because they were promised an android. And I think it was because Dr. Peter says that Andrew is more sophisticated than Frankie. But then at the end of season two, they're back after Frankie again. And the question that goes into my head is why make up your mind. Which target are you after and why?
Well, honestly, my theory is that they were actually after Frankie all along, but capturing like at first up they were after Frankie, and then they got an android, which was Andrew, and then he escapes, and then they decide, okay, so now we need to get Frankie. So now we still need an android for Project Q. So then they decide to go back to Frankie, but they decide that in order to get her, that they decide to capture Troy, sorry, Cole, as a ploy to get her close, and also, I remember Cynthia also said to Frankie, "You will surrender yourself to Warpa under your own free will," and she actually does. She was right. She ends up surrendering to Warpa just so she can save Cole.
I mean, the final three episodes, that was the moral dilemma. And I actually felt as though this is really touching at my heart a bit because now Frankie is up to an impossible decision. She has to make the most human decision. Do you want to
Yeah.
save your friends? Do you want to save your family and friends? Or do you want to stop Warpa from uh, executing their evil scheme? And that, I think, really puts Frankie's human abilities to the ultimate test.
Yes, I think that really does help her character. What should I do? The quote unquote right thing and not surrender them to them, but let my friend be used for evil purposes, or do I surrender myself to them and do the wrong thing but save my friend? In fact, that's almost an it's a very similar moral dilemma to the Teen Titans, like the 2003 Teen Titans,
Yes.
the season one finale, Apprentice. Have you seen that?
No, I have not actually.
Well, hope you don't mind spoilers about that, but basically what happens is that Slade, who's the season one villain, he ends up saying that I've got this croton detonator that can stop time, so you better hurry up and stop them. So the other four Titans go and try and go and find it, but turns out that it was actually a ploy to get and they find a machine that actually ends up zapping them, and they have and then they have little what's it called little nanobots inside their bloodstream, and with the push of a button, Slade can actually kill them. They don't say kill, but he says destroy or annihilate. And
Yeah.
then he finds Robin, and Robin says, "I've been looking." And then Slade says, "I've been looking for an apprentice, and I've chosen you." And then he holds up the button. And he says, if you agree to join me, I'll save your friend. I'll spare your friends' lives. But if you disobey any of my requests, then I'll annihilate them, and I'll let you watch." So like, what does Robin do? Does he stay on the good side but let his friends die, or does he join the evil side and save his friends? And spoiler alert, he joins Slade, but he eventually ends up getting back to the good side at the end.
Well,
Actually,
yeah.
I've actually partially written a script for my pilot called Crime Connor, which is pinned to my Twitter profile. I actually had another script for an episode of a show that actually went similar. I still shared on Twitter, like where Caleb was the main character. I just put a similar situation, but I'm getting off topic. But yeah, that scene really does put Frankie's human abilities to the best. Like, join the evil side but save Cole, or do I stay on the good side but let Cole be used for evil purposes?
Right. It was not just Cole. I mean, they were going to send her mom into deep space, and
And
that's
that's another layer to it.
yep, exactly. Do you want to put? I'm sorry. You want to put family and friends at risk because it's not just friend, not just her, not just friend though. But you see, Frankie looked at Cole as almost a boyfriend, if you will.
Yeah, and they do kiss in the last at the end of the last episode. So I believe that they do end up together. And also another thing I think really makes that scene so effective is the fact that uh Frankie is actually given the choice. Like that they didn't force her to do it. They told her of her own free will. It's either you join us or we let your friends basically or we send your mom into deep space and we and let your friend be used for evil purposes. Uh, However, I think that's actually more effective than Alex Mack because I think the
Yes.
last two episodes of Alex Mack, Alex was actually just captured. Like the company
Yes.
came to her house and they just captured her. But I am Frankie. Frankie's given the choice of what to do, and she's struggling
Interesting.
with a moral dilemma.
That's very interesting that you say that, and that is quite a difference between the two shows. But regardless, whether you're given a choice or you're taken against your will, I'd say given a choice gives you a lot more of a moral dilemma than
Yes,
just being taken.
yes, I agree with that. Yeah, it definitely does.
And anyway, so I felt as though season two was just the last three episodes. I was at the edge of my seat, and
So was I.
it's the final episodes just tore at my heartstrings. But I'm glad that uh, everything worked out in the end. What actually happened was in one of the last scenes, we have Frankie being programmed to put some sort of a chip or to implant some sort of a tracking device into Cole. And then what happens is Andrew, Simone, and Kingston escape from their cell, if you will. And then Rachel programs Beto to destroy the servers, which and disconnect Warper from the space station control. And then Andrew, Simone find Frankie and stop them in time.
Yes. And so I think that's basically the whole show. I think we covered everything.
Yep. Any final thoughts about your overall
Um,
impression?
how about we talk about what we would like to see for season three if a season three were
Oh
to happen?
yes, I think that's
Can I go first, or do you want to go first?
you can go.
Like I said before, I think the thing about the Simone getting the message, the encrypted message, I think that was left open ended just in case there would be a season three. Again, once again, I don't think a season three is necessary, but I wouldn't be against it happening as long as it like actually wraps up. So I think what the encrypted message was and what the shaded figure wants Simone to do will probably be extended on. I hope we see what happens with Eliza. I hope we actually get.
Yes.
I hope we see like what happens to her, like the follow up to her, like how she escaped and what happened. And I hear my voice echoing.
Right. I don't think that's a problem with the Hangouts.
Oh, and also after Frankie and Cole kiss, Frankie actually grows a human heart. So my theory is that over the course of the season three, Frankie starts becoming a lot more human. Like she starts she cries, she grows a heart. My theory is that like if there were to be like a season 20, Frankie is 100% completely human and
Yes.
she's completely indistinguishable from a human.
Yeah. My ideal season 3 would be I would like to explore more about what happened between Simone and the shadowy figure. I would also would like to see what happens with Eliza and the other 4 prototypes. We didn't really see that much explored. What happened to Sigourney's other uh, predecessors? Do they come back to life and join Eliza and the Gaines family? What about just the normal stuff? Besides the conflict, besides the Warpa, are we going to see more into the Gaines family and personal life, as well as Frankie's school career?
Oh yeah, like the Gaines' personal lives is not something that's explored very often. We do know that Jenny she's kind of a troublemaker and she also likes coding. She's really good at coding, and we know that that Will Gaines is also is we know that he's an unpublished author and he also likes doing magic tricks. And we do, and I think Sigourney is probably the most developed person on the show, person in the Gaines family aside from Frankie. But we don't actually have a whole lot of insight into their family. Like how did Sigourney get into how does Sigourney get into science, or like maybe or how about a backstory about how she built Eliza and why
Yes.
Eliza ended up escaping? I'm surprised that we didn't see that in the season two opener with Eliza. So maybe we can see a backstory on that, like if the Eliza story will be followed up on.
Right, but I also have to be honest. If Warp is defeated, there's not really much. There won't be much any conflict. If there's a new entity that is posing a threat.
And then the new entity that's posing a threat is the encrypted message that Simone got.
That is true, but we don't know if that's good or evil. They don't reveal.
I will see. I'm sure there'll probably be another. If season three were to go on, since Warp is gone now, I'm sure there will be another antagonist introduced for season three. But once again, even though the thing was left open ended, I do think season two wrapped up everything decently well. And aside from those two little cliffhangers, I think season two basically closed off the show for basically good. The encrypted message and Eliza are the equivalent to Zuko going to Fire Lord Ozai in prison saying, "Where's my mother?" That was left open ended, but that wasn't concludable. I mean, the search was released in comics, but I think that it was left open ended. Season two could have been the last episode. I would have been fine with. That'd be the last season. I would have been completely fine with that. So
Yes.
all right. So I don't think a season three is necessary, but I wouldn't be totally against it.
Well, that's how I would feel. I think the show as it stands, I think is satisfying enough for me.
Definitely. And in fact, I think it's actually I think it's I think it's not only Nick's best live action show in years. I might get some flack for saying this, but I think it's, oh, I still hear my voice echoing. I think it's among the top 10 best Nickelodeon shows of the 2010s. No joke.
All right. I would agree with you. And I think that we can now go into some closing self promotion. I'm going to be joining you on the Nick at 40. Is
Yes,
that
in
correct?
fact, once we get to part six, but then you can talk. We can talk a little more about I am Frankie there. Not in as much detail as this, but we can still maybe talk briefly about the show a little bit. I'm sure Nick Nagel will be very appreciative that we had a lot to say about it. And
Yes.
we can probably mention Nick at 40. Oh, we did discuss it on your channel, your Nickospective podcast.
Yes.
Uh, all right. So, did you want to? So, can I plug from my stuff?
I just want to say one more thing before you get into your promotion. At the Nick at 40, I'll be also interested in talking about not just this show, but all the other shows on Nickelodeon throughout the 90s, 2000s, 2010. I'm also a big Dan Warp fan. I am a big Dan Warp fan.
All
So
right. Well, I'm sure you'll have a lot to say on those shows when we get to those.
yes.
But we're not going to be recording till February or March, so it's going to be a few months till we get to there. But we'll let you know. I'll let you know when me and Nick are ready to start recording. And
All right.
also, we're actually having a few special guests. We're planning on having Greg from Pop Arena. Or we're planning on having Mike Gems. Peggy Sue Clay runs a classic Nickelodeon fan blog. They're going to be joining us for a few episodes.
Well, that'll be fun. So why don't you close by telling us your other things that you are working on that you'd like to promote?
All right. Well, for anyone listening to this, I'm on Twitter at snorberd1. You can follow me on there. My Instagram is snorberd. I'm more active on Twitter than I am on Instagram. I do have a YouTube channel, but I almost never upload onto it. It's Norbert. Although I do plan to upload a discussion for Static Cling with some friends, including Nick Nagel and Cameron and a few other people when it actually airs. Again, Norbert is my YouTube channel. My profile picture is a stock picture of Norbert, which you're seeing right now, Jordan.
Yes, I
Norbert,
know
Norbert from
that.
the Angry Beavers.
Yes.
And then finally, I mentioned this a little earlier, but I have a cartoon pilot I've written. It's called Crime Connor, and it's pinned to my Twitter profile. It's probably not going to actually turn to any actual show, but if any of you want to read it, it's pinned to my Twitter. I've written a few other scripts as well, so I can send you those if you want. Just send me a tweet if you want. And that's basically everything I got. How about you?
Yes, my turn. Well, I have one big project in the works, but before I get to that, I'll share my Twitter handles at JordanHSYR99. I am also on Facebook. I believe it's just Jordan Hayes. On Facebook, I'm more of a Facebook user than a tweeter.
I don't have Facebook.
That's that's something I didn't know, but thanks for sharing. Anyway, I am writing a fan fiction story about how Good Burger takes over the Schneiderverse. So essentially, the premise of that is we have Good Burger actually going corporate, and they've decided to create franchises all over the country that focus on the locations of other Dan Schneider shows like Game Shaker, Sam and Cat, iCarly, Victorious, Drake and Josh, and that there's actually a little bit of subplot involving Kel Mitchell where he begins as Ed, but then he gets spoiler alert, he gets fired from Good Burger after a new CEO takes over, and then he's on a journey to find himself, ends up meeting Keenan, and then he and Keenan work together to come back to Good Burger and stop the franchises or stop the existing locations from going out of business, but also claiming his coveted spot as the CEO of Good Burger Corporation. So that's very exciting. Okay.
All right. I think that's it. Thanks for having me, Jordan. It was a lot of fun discussing about this with you. I hope more people will give I Am Frankie a chance, even though season 3 is probably not going to happen. I do hope that people will at least check out the episodes that already exist, maybe on Nick's website, or they can find it on iTunes. So everyone, give I Am Frankie a chance. It's not a My Life as a Teenage Robot ripoff. Next time we'll be talking about how the Other Kingdom is not a Star vs. the Force of Evil ripoff. Just kidding, but seriously, check out I Am Frankie.
Yes, I would recommend it. One last shout out to our sister station. Why do I calling it my sister station? I've just been around it so many times. But let's give out a big shout out to our friend Patricia from Old School Lane. Without I would say without her, we wouldn't be doing this today. I wouldn't have met you without knowing her.
Yes,
So-
and vice versa. Yeah, thank you to Patricia if you're listening. Well, I hope you would have seen I Am Frankie before listening to this because you just got spoiled on everything. And also, shout out to Karen Biggs, the Cartoon Ghoul, and Noah Spongy, who I all invited to join me for the discussion, but they all declined. The former two because they were busy, and the latter because they didn't know me very well.
All right. Well, this ends this edition of the Nickelspective podcast. Have a great